talk to older people about how they want to live, it turns out they want to live the way everybody else lives. They want to live in the place and the manner of their own choosing. That's what everybody wants. And one of the reasons why nursing homes have failed as a cultural institution is that almost nobody would choose to live in an institution because it's not the place or the manner in which they'd like to live. And that's why, over the years, I've actually become a nursing home abolitionist. You know, there was a time when people thought that poorhouses and TB sanitariums were absolutely essential and could never be replaced. And, you know, those people were wrong. We found new ways of addressing those social issues without institutionalizing people. And I actually think we're living through a similar moment right now. Millions of people believe that nursing homes are inevitable, that nothing can replace them. It's wrong. We're actually in the middle of an exciting time where technology and culture and architecture are all coming together to create new solutions, new options for people that don't require them to leave their home and their family and their community and move into an institution. And I honestly, as a geriatrician, I find this the most exciting time to be part of this journey. And here in the UK, Evermore, I think, is leading that charge. Evermore is really dedicated to putting together new combinations of technologies and building structures and cultural habits and expectations that help people live where they want to and how they want to. I think the first thing is to understand that we all have care needs, whether we're young, middle-aged, or old. It's a universal of our human experience. The thing that's really specific about old age is that the nature of those needs change. And it's really important that we develop ways of meeting those needs without sacrificing the independence and the dignity and autonomy of older people. That's really the central challenge of our time.
Nowadays, care and nursing homes are generally end of life. So people put off going in them until they're really dependent, really frail, and have no other options available to them. And that is just grim and shouldn't be allowed. The nursing homes across the world have gone from quite intimate little places of 20 or 30 beds to anything up to 100, 150 now. And they are industries, resembling not that difference from a workhouse, in my opinion. And that's not where I want to end up, and that's not where my parents want to end up, or any of the people in between. So for us, that whole concept of institutional living is dead. What we haven't done is create all the other opportunities yet for people to live well, either in their existing home or in new homes. But that's the mission we're on. I fundamentally believe that care homes, like any other institutions that we have abolished, will go. I think what we will replace it with are lots and lots of varieties of places where you can live together, co-housing, extra care, communal living, student living for older people. Spaces where you can dip in and out of those relationships, have your own little place. But there is a big thing about, oh, older people want to stay in their own homes, only because the alternatives at the moment are so grim. If we create aspirational places to live, then like the rest of us, they will choose those lovely places. And that's where developers really need to get their head together and understand this is a massive market. It's a massive opportunity because older people have all the housing wealth currently. Now, if we could get developers behind that notion so they built brilliant urban and suburban dwellings for older people that were not ghettos, then actually we would have a really vibrant urban culture in some of the market towns that are now failing. One of the things that I've always felt is if you live with other people or you're in a community with other people, there's an awful lot of contribution that is given freely. So you tend to look out for each other. You tend to check whether there's milk in the fridge of your neighbour if they are less mobile. You just do that because it's neighbourly. So the concept of how does care work in the community is very different. It's not about having rigid structures and approaches. It's really flexible. So there will be professionals in the mix there, but a lot of it will be about sharing tasks, working together, contributing to the same community, participating in things, and doing things together in a way that promotes health and well-being for the individual because they feel as though they belong to something. Yes, people will always have care or a support need at some point, but that can happen at any age. And we don't say to small children that we're not going to look after you because you're going to be a burden, like we do with older people. If you're part of a community, you have a seat at the table like anyone else. You have a right to be there, and we should be designing things that fit my lifestyle, to my timetable, in my way. And one of the really interesting things that policymakers could get involved with is probably less about new build development, but more about looking at the buildings we already have. We'll never build enough retirement housing stock if you actually look at the statistics. It's just not going to happen. But look at all the redundant buildings above shops in high streets. Look at all the office buildings that are empty. Now, some bright sparks have worked out that you can convert an office building into micro apartments for young professionals. Well, why are we just doing young professionals here? You know, I don't want to have loads of stuff when I'm in my 80s, and I certainly don't want to clean a big flat. So having a space that's in the heart of the community, we should be reusing all of the housing stock that we've got available, filling in all the brownfield sites, creating different communities and different housing options, as well as building some new. And if you can imagine the cost of redeveloping an existing building versus starting from brand new and eating into the greenbelt, it's got to be attractive for both policymakers and developers. What policymakers have to do is make the planning process really simple, make it really easy and accessible for people to get on with it. And we also need to make sure these places need to be really affordable and attractive. So we don't want to say only people over 60 or 70 can live here. It's an apartment block. You can all live here. Whoever gets here first can live here. Because fostering that intergenerational community is going to be really powerful. So what works for young people who are getting into their first rental or first mortgage property works exactly the same for those older people who no longer need to rattle around in a big house.